So this is a basic website. We have our links, home, contact, advertise, and fax. We also have our logo here, and then we have an animation, sign up and get started. It is very responsive on all screen sizes. Let's take a look. Yeah, so I can click here and have this. So click here to cancel. So make sure you stay to the end of this video to learn how to create this responsive website. Yeah, so I'm going to teach you how to create a basic website. In this folder website underscore create, I have about 4 files here. I have a picture, city.jpg, I have index.html, style.css, and work.js. So in our index.html, I've created a basic tag called the main tag. And within the main tag, we have an h1 tag and a div tag. There's nothing hard in that. So the next thing I want to do now is that I want to link my HTML to my CSS. And to do that, I just need to type in the name of the file. After doing that now, I want to add an image, a background image. So my source, the name of my image is city.jpg. And after doing that, I want to create a nav. And in this nav bar, I want to host my span and also my anchor tag. Let me just give it an hashtag as a link logo. So after doing this, I also want to create a span that will have different span. And I want to name this span right underscore nav. After doing that, I want to copy this and just paste it. Let me just say 4 more times. So I want to name this categories, contact, advertise. I want to name this fact. So let me refresh the browser so you see the output. Okay, now, so after doing that, I also want to add my button. I want to name my button sign up. Then the second button, I want to name it get started. Let me give my button a class name. This first button, I want to give it a class name of signed. I want to give the second button class name of started. Let me save this. So let's get styling now. The first thing I want to style now is our image. So let's go to our style. Well, I want my body to have a margin of 0 and a padding of 0. So my image, I want my width to be 100%. Said 100, not 200. Sorry about that. I want my height to be exactly 100 viewport height. Then after that, I also want my image to fit properly on all screens. So I want the object fit to properly cover. And also I want to blur it a little. My brightness to be reduced. So I want it to be about just say 40%. Let me refresh that so you see it on the browser. Yeah, so this is what I want. So having done that now, let's target our next one. So I want to target the nav bar. I want it to be fixed. Sorry about that. Nav bar, I give a width of 100%. I want the position to be fixed. For it to display here, we are not going to use a fixed position. Instead, we use the absolute position to enable us to be displayed. So after doing that, I also want to give a color of white. Also my box shadow, I want it to be 2 pixel, 2 pixel, then 11 pixel, f2, f2, f2. Now as I see on my pure white. So after doing that, I want my top to be about 0%. Then my, let's try that first. Yeah, we can clearly see it now. So after doing that, I want to increase the padding also. The padding of 20 pixel, up, down, bottom, and left. So now this categories contact advertisers and facts. I want to move it to the right hand side. So I'm going to pick its parent element, which is right underscore nav. I'm going to tell it to float to the right hand side. So I want us to see what I'm saying here. Yeah, it has completely floated to the right hand side. So let me get all the anchor tag. Let me say I want my text decoration to be none. I don't want a line. I want my color to be pure white. I want you to see that here. So it has completely done that. I also want my padding to be about 10 pixel. Then when I hover over that, when I hover over any individual anchor tag, I want my background to be Dodger blue. Let me save this and yeah. So this is exactly what I want. And aside that, if we can look, it is not clearly fitting. So in this my float right, I want to give it a padding. The up, I don't want to change it, but the left and right, let me give it a padding of 25 pixel. So that we properly, yes, we can clearly see how adjusted it is. So this is okay now. Okay, let me make this logo in capital letters. It's not proper in small letters. Okay. So the next thing we want to target now is our main. So within our main now, I also want the position. Also want the position to be absolute so it will display on top of the image. I want the top to be about 55%. I left because I want to make it appear at the center to be about 50%. I want to transform this and translate it to a minus 50% each. So let me save this and preview this for you. Now you can see that they are all here now. So I want my color to be white. Just let's use our dominant F2 F2 color. Let me see. I've saved this and previewing it. Yeah, so this is what we want now. So the second thing we want to do now is this we are waiting for you. I want to make my waiting have a Dodger blue color. So I'm just going to create a bold tag here. I want my style to be and the color to be Dodger blue. So I want to do this for subscribers. I also want to do this for software. And I also want to do this for no account. So let's save this and preview it. Yeah. So the second thing I want to do is that I want to give it a width of 400 pixels. So depending on screen size, I want it to have a width of 400 pixels. And again, so the next thing I want to target now is this div here, this current div. So for me to do that, I would put main div, then I want my font size to be, let me see, let's check 20 pixels. Let me see how it will be currently on this. So this is quite better. My line height, give it 22 pixels. Let me see how it will be. Okay, so having done that now, let me just say 25. Okay, so having done that now, the next thing I want to target is my button. And I called my button signed, the first button signed. So in order to give it more beauty, let me make the border, the box shadow I mean, 2 pixel, 2 pixel, then 11 pixel dodger blue. Then after that, I also want my color to be dodger blue. Let me go down so you see this properly. So the next thing I also want to do is to make my background exactly transparent. I don't want any border. So I have to make the border 0 and the outline also. I want to make it 0. So let me save that and preview it. So you can clearly see it now. So the next thing I want to do is the padding. I want to give it a padding of 10 pixel up, down, left and right. So you can see it, and aside that, our border, radius, I want to make it about 12 pixel. So let me also give it a width of just say 120 pixel. 120 pixel. So I also want to target get started. So the class name of get started is started. Just going to change the code a little. Well, I want the background to be dodger blue. I want my color to be white. But I don't want to give it a box shadow. Instead, I want to give it a border of 1 pixel solid in dodger blue. Let me save that and check if it's what I want. Yeah, so this is clearly what I would prefer. So my div, I also want to give it a padding, 0 up and down, then about 10 pixel, sorry, 10 pixel up and down, then 0 left and right. So there'll be space here. Yeah, so this is quite okay. So aside that, if you can look now, I want to change my cursor to become a pointer. I also want to do that here. My cursor to become a pointer. Yeah, so you can see, let's refresh it. Yeah, you can see it here. So let me enlarge the window so you see this properly. Yes. Well, I want to also make my button stay away from each other a little bit. So let me just make the margin of this one to still be 10 pixel and 0 and 0. When you're using 0, you don't have to give a unit. Just say margin right. Since it's since it's the first button, you say margin right of 10 pixels. So properly stay away from each other. Yeah, so this is quite okay now. So second thing I want to do is this my categories. Okay, so let me just make it home to have more meaning. I want it to be active. I'm going to just say class active. Active. And anyone that is active, I want it to have a background of Dodger blue and a color of white. That's what I want to do. And the second thing I want to do is I want to animate my button. This is my sign up. When I hover over it, I want it to have a background of Dodger blue in a very gentle way. So I'm going to say dot sign over. I'm going to say, okay, let your background be Dodger blue. A box shadow. I don't want you to have a box shadow of none. And I want that to take a little while. Just a 0.5 seconds delay. Okay, let me make the color also. I want my color to be pure white. Save it and preview it. Yeah, so it's quite okay. I also want to design my get started. I want get started to have a background of white. I want the background to be pure white. I want its color to still be Dodger blue. I want it delay a little bit, transition to a 0.5 seconds. Also, I want it border 1 pixel solid Dodger blue also. Let's save this. Let me go down so you see it clearly. Let's preview this. Yeah. So now we've successfully built this for a large screen. So the second thing we want to build now for is we want to make it responsive. In order to make it responsive, we have to build for the smaller screen. And by doing so, I have to introduce my media screen and at media screen and max width exactly at 500 pixel below. I want to change all its designs. So in between this, I'm just going to paste the whole design back here. So for you not to get lost, look at what I'm doing. I open my at media screen and max width 500 pixel. I placed all the whole code I've done previously within it so that I'll be able to toggle it to my own satisfaction. So now when it's at a smaller screen, I want to reduce the width. I want my width to be about 300 pixel. That's I want to change my 400 pixel to 300 pixel. That's the first thing I want to do. And then in my right now, let me just reduce this so you see the output. Yeah. So what I want to do now is that I don't want to have this. I want to have an hamburger menu. So for me to do that, let me go back here. But in this place, I want to paste my span. Then for me to place my hamburger menu, I'm going to use a code. I'm going to introduce a hamburger sign. Yeah, so this is the hamburger sign here. So having done that, the other thing I would love to introduce. Okay, let's first get this started first. Let me name this toggler. So the screen is not 500 pixels. So within this space, I will just say let my toggle, let it display none. So when the screen is normally large, I don't want my hamburger to be displayed except it is 500 pixel. So currently now it is above 500 pixel. That is why it's not displaying. This same toggler, I want it to display when it is in a smaller screen. So when it's in a smaller screen, I want it to display block. Let me just say inline block. To be on the same thing. Good. And the next thing I would want to do is I would also want to eliminate this home contact advertisers. So what I'm going to say is I want my width to be 100%, my position to be absolute. I want my top exactly 0. So let me just save this and preview it for you. Okay. And aside that, I also want it to display in a block way. Okay now. So, okay, I ought not to put this here. Let me remove this. This is meant to be in the right nav. The This is your right nav now. So this is where we ought to design because this is where all home, contact, advertisers, effects are currently located. So let's locate our right nav. Okay, these are right nav now. So the position here, it has to be absolute. Then I want it to display in a block way. Let's save this and preview so you see it. Dot right nav. Okay. Display block. Let's save this and preview it. Okay now, so this is what I actually want. So aside that, the next thing I want to do also now is, okay, so since it's displaying block, let me remove this and put it right under the logo. Then in this part, let me just change it and write deactivate. Then I want to replace it with the times. That's to be able to cancel the whole thing. Let me save this and review it. Mhm. So the toggler here, I also want it to float right. Okay, let me just make this 25 pixels. I'm doing that currently because I want this to come out properly. Okay, now, so that's quite better. So let's continue our design. So we are still designing and right now. Second thing I want to do is I want everything to align to the center. And if I want it to align to the center, I have to display it width to be about 100%. And also I want to, let's save this and preview it. Okay. So the next thing I want to do now is I want my backdrop filter. I want it to blur. This will be about 5 pixels. Then after that, I also save it and view it. Also, since I said my distance to be absolute, I want my right to be exactly 0. So it should properly align. Yes, now, so this is enough. Okay, now, so I don't want my home to be active here. I want the background color, the normal white color. Let me just specify the background to be none. So it will eliminate this. Okay, now. So when I hover, okay, so the next thing I want to do is my right nav. I would also want my box shadow to be about 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 11 pixel, right? Okay, now. So after doing this, let me move this one, come down a little bit, make this 60%. Okay, now. So when I hover over this, my background, I want it to be none. I also want my color to be Dodger blue. Let me save this and I want my transition, my time to be about 0.5 seconds. Yeah, so this is quite okay. But instead of doing this, since it is affecting this part, let me remove the box shadow. It's not looking nice. Okay, so let me just put a border button. Probably that will do. Pixel. Since this is not showing, okay, let me just make it solid. So it could properly sit here. Okay, now so this is enough now. So home, contact, advertisers, and facts are currently working. So let me make this toggler dot deactivate. I don't want it to show on a larger screen. So in my normal code, which is above the none, that means these two things would not display. You can see that. Okay, let me refresh it so you properly see it. See that the cancel the toggle underscore deactivate is no more there. Okay, now. So after that now, I say display none. So let it display inline block. So it should not be removed. Inline block or just block since I don't want it to be on a straight line. See it's showing here, but it's currently not showing here. So that's actually what I want. So the next thing we want to do now is that we want to make this come to life. Let me give it a little bit design to my toggler. Let me make my border 1 pixel solid white. Then I want my when I hover over it, I want the border to be touch blue. and give it a padding. For me to see this clearly, let me just hide this. I don't want this part to show, so let me hide this. So let me design this properly. Adding 0 up, then left and right. Give it a 10 pixel padding. Let me give it more so it will come out properly. So this is quite better. So having done that, you can decide to increase it to make it, let me just say 2 pixel up and down, make it look better. Now you can decide to make it like this anyhow you want it. So now, since we've been able to make it on a wider screen, it appears like this, but on a smaller screen, it shows us this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add our JavaScript. So when we click on this, the we want it to appear here. That's our right nav, our span, which is right nav. We want audio links to appear here. So what we are going to do now is we have to put action onto this one. And to do that, when I click on this span, so let me give it an on-click function. On click, I want it to buckler underscore activate. So I'm going to call this as a function in my JavaScript. And the second thing I want to do now is that also when I click on this span, this closing span, I also want it to deactivate. So that's the second thing I want to do. So aside that now, I want to give this an ID because this is what we'll be working with, either to display it none or display it as block. So let me just call this house underscore nav. Okay, now so after doing this, I want to link my JavaScript file, which is work.js. To do that, I introduce my script, then want my source to be work.js. Yeah. So I have successfully linked my HTML file with my JavaScript file. So let's get started with our JavaScript variable. I want to give this the home underscore nav. I'm going to say document dot get elements ID. So I want to get this actual ID that is hosting audio span, which is house underscore nav. I'm going to impute it here. That's the only ID we need to get. So the second thing we need to do now is our function. And the function I told you earlier of is our onClick function. You have no argument. There's no need of passing any argument. So let's just repeat this twice. This one is deactivate. Is toggler underscore deactivate. Now, so after doing that, what I want to say is that when I click on toggler underscore activate, that's when I click here, I want here to display. That's I want my span, my links to be displayed. So for me to do that, I will just say, I'll just get this since I've stored that element inside home underscore nav. I'll just say home underscore nav dot style dot display. I want it to be blocked. So let me save that. Let's verify if that's working. Okay. Home underscore nav dot style dot display equals block. I'm going to treat that in a jiffy. And when I cancel it, that's when I click on toggler underscore deactivate. That's this times is going to close this whole thing. So I want to display none. Let me refresh this and check if it's working again. Okay, I think we are encountering a small error. Let me check what is happening. Okay, I'm coming. Let me try to understand what is happening. Source work.js. Okay, now so this is what I want us to display, but since we are having a problem with opening of this toggler underscore activate, okay, I'm trying to figure out the error here. Okay, let me just put this inside my. Oh, I'm sorry. This is where I kept it initially. It ought not to be. It ought to be inside the toggler. Sorry for that. That's why it's very good for you to use your console to check your error and you watch your code properly so you won't make mistake. So it ought to be here. Let me save it. Let me refresh that. Let me also, so let me make it none here. I load it. I don't see anything there. Okay, so another thing I want to do is I don't want it to. I also want it to cover my logo. So for me to do that, I will say let my top be about 0. So another problem I also saw here is that when I expand this code, let me inspect it so you see what I'm saying. But you can clearly see now that we are having extra space here. And that is because our padding is having about 20 pixels and it's expanding over to the HTML, which is not meant to be. So for us to solve that, we are going to adjust it here. So I want the 20 pixel in our navbar, I want the 20 pixel to be up and down and 0 to be left and right to prevent that. Also, let me go to the higher one here. I also want that 20 pixel up and down, then 0 left and right. So let me save that. And also in my index, this is my logo. I want to style it and make the font size. Since it's the logo, it ought to be bigger than the normal links. I want the font size to be about 22 pixels. Let me save that. Preview it here. Yeah, so it is way better like this. So let me check it on that same screen. So you can see now that that has been eliminated. And the second thing I want to do, this one, this part we are waiting for you seems to be very, very low. So let's make that better. Let's make it come higher a little bit. So within our main, instead of it to be 60%, I want it to be about 50%. Let's refresh that and see the output. Yes, this is way much better. Way much better than what we had before. So please, if you've not, make sure you hit the subscribe button, you like and you follow for more. And feel free to ask any question in the comment section below. Thank you.